That's the mosque. We're coming from one house to another.
Okay, tonight's the anniversary of the passing of the Rebbe Rashab. It's both. By holy things, the Talmud says that the sacrifices are brought during the day and they're eaten the night afterwards. So therefore, since today was the second of Nisan, tonight, following the second of Nisan, is also connected to the anniversary of the passing of the Rebbe Rashab. The Rebbe Rashab instructed members of his household that when you make in the kitchen you make it kosher for Pesach, and you want to put there some things, you want to put vegetables, whatever you want to put in your kitchen, you want to store it in the kitchen. Before you put those items in the kitchen, you should take a candle and you should go around and search that room, even though it's not the night of the 14th, even though it's not the night before Pesach. It's a week before Pesach, but you want to make this room to be the storage house for items for Pesach. Rabbi Shab said that you should. Doesn't make sense to search that room once it's Pesach dik. The room is already made for Pesach. You already have potatoes and apples and oranges and everything filling the room. You take out all the potatoes and all the apples and all the oranges and then search for chametz. Doesn't make sense. So instead, Rabbi Shab said, before you put the food items in the room, take a candle. That's not night before Pesach. It's a few nights before Pesach. But before you start putting items there for Pesach, you should search the room. And although there's a mitzvah to search for chametz the night before Pesach, but that's only a mitzvah you should also search the night before Pesach. But you don't have to search everything the night before Pesach. You're allowed to search. Is it front or left? Okay, good. You're allowed to search some items, some rooms, many days before Pesach. This gentleman wants to come to the show. 1 second. Matty.
What do you mean? What is it considered?
It's the mitzvah of. It's a good question. How the halachic classification is of what you're doing. Is that considered the mitzvah of the chametz or something else? It's a good question.
But you search again on the night of Pesach?
No. You're allowed to search some rooms before the night of the 14th. You have to leave something for the night of the 14th. You're allowed to search a few days before. So, for example, your car. There's a mitzvah, there's a biblical commandment to search your car for chametz. You know you've eaten chametz in your car. Whenever you bring chametz into, you have to search for Pesach. You have to search for chametz. But what people often think is, the car doesn't really matter. It's just a car. It doesn't count. It's not true. The car is like a room of your house, has to be searched for Pesach. But you don't have to go out on the night before Pesach and search your car. You can go, if you're taking your car to a car wash and they clean it, you're not done yet. But now you can go look through your car and during the light of the day, during the light of the day as well, because it's pretty open and clear, all the areas of the car through the light of the day, and so you could search for chametz not just the night before Pesach, but also a few days before. Or if you want to search at night, you could take a flashlight and go with a flashlight and look through your car quickly, and that's sufficient. So, but before going into the details of what, check your car. Okay. So good. So there is something called like this. Let's backtrack for a second. What is chametz? What is the prohibition of chametz on Pesach? So there's a few different mitzvahs on Pesach. One mitzvah is you're not allowed to eat chametz. Besides the mitzvah that's forbidden to eat chametz, there's also another mitzvah, you're not allowed to own chametz. Besides the mitzvah you're not allowed to own chametz, there's a third positive mitzvah. What's a positive mitzvah? Destroy the chametz. Before Pesach begins, you have to destroy the chametz. What chametz? There's also a prohibition, not just for eating chametz and having any benefit from chametz. Not have any benefit from chametz. So if you have no benefit from it, you're not really the owner of the chametz. So when the Torah says to destroy the chametz, there's two different ways to fulfill this mitzvah. One way is to take it out of your possession, literally, physically. and the other way, and to destroy whatever is in your possession, to burn whatever is in your possession, or to just take it out of your possession, and the other way is to declare that it's going to be ownerless. To fulfill the mitzvah, the biblical commandment of destroying the chametz, you don't have to actually destroy it. It's sufficient to just declare it ownerless. However, once Pesach begins, it's a little bit of a catch-22. On the other hand, who are you to be mafker it? If you're not allowed to have any benefit from it, you're not really the owner of it. And so therefore you can make it hefker. So once Pesach begins, you're not allowed to declare it ownerless. You have no right to declare it ownerless because you don't own it enough to declare it ownerless. On the other hand, you own it enough to violate the prohibition of owning chametz. So that's why you have to declare it ownerless before the time the prohibition of having benefit from chametz begins. Once the prohibition of having benefit from chametz begins, so the language of the Gemara is Shnei dvarim einim b'shus shel adam v'asana koskel b'shusay. There's some things that don't belong to you, but the Torah puts it in your possession in order that you should be violating the mitzvah of owning chametz. So what you could do is you have option A is to destroy the chametz. Option B is to declare it ownerless. So we do both. We destroy the chametz, we search for the chametz, and we also declare it ownerless, and we also sell the chametz. What's going on? Why do we need all these three different things? So, number one is this. In order to fulfill the mitzvah of not owning chametz on Pesach, if you search your house carefully, the Torah wasn't given to angels. You search your house as much as best as you could, and you don't find any chametz. And all of a sudden, you discover on Pesach some chametz. Did you go against the mitzvah? Did you violate the commandment? The Torah wasn't given to angels. What did the Torah expect from you? By the way, I should mention that Rebbe Rashab told one of his gaboyim, one of the people who worked in his household, I don't want to misquote, something to this effect. He had to search the chicken coop. The Rebbe Rashab said to him that if there is something left, it's pertinent to your soul in this world and the next world. Like, be careful. There's no chametz left. That guy, his heart, was challenged. His health after hearing that. Anyways, so if you search your house though, and you couldn't find any chametz, and now all of a sudden you discover a massive piece of chametz, a birthday cake you didn't see under your bed, you haven't violated anything. However, when you find a birthday cake, you say, I don't know what to do now. It's a big birthday cake. What should I do with it? Let me call up the rabbi. What do you see what to do with it? While you're waiting to call the rabbi, you're violating the prohibition of owning chametz. In those few minutes, until you destroy the rabbi, I got rid of it. You got to right away, break into pieces, burn it, throw in the toilet. You got to destroy the chametz. While that's happening, you are violating the prohibition of owning chametz. So therefore, the Chachamim said it's not sufficient to just search for chametz. You also have to declare it ownerless. When you declare it ownerless, then even if you find it and you didn't wait a few minutes, if during those few minutes, it's not considered that you violated the prohibition of chametz. Okay, so now you're declaring it ownerless. So good. So why you have to say that. So the question is, that's what I'm asking. So exactly, if you're declaring it ownerless, why have to search for it? You already say it's ownerless. If we're already declaring it ownerless, because we're not relying that you found everything, and therefore you're specifically declaring that if I didn't find anything, I want it to be hefker. And so then if it should be ownerless, what's the point of looking for it in the first place? You're declaring it ownerless anyways. So Alter Rebbe uses a language. The Alter Rebbe says that the Chachamim said that declaring it ownerless does not help at all. He didn't say that the Chachamim said you should do something else. He said they made a rule. It does not help at all. What does that mean? Well, first of all, why? There are two reasons why. Reason number one is because maybe you won't mean it. You say it's ownerless. Do you really mean it's ownerless? Do you really mean it? It has to be in your heart. Your heart has to say, you have to mean it. If you don't mean it, it doesn't work. It's a personal declaration that you decide it's going to be ownerless. If you didn't mean it, it still belongs to you. Number one. Problem number two is, even if you declare it ownerless, because chametz is something that we have all day, every day, all year, so it's likely that you might forget and you might end up eating it. So because of both of these reasons, the Alter Rebbe said that it's not sufficient just to declare it ownerless. You also have to take it out of your possession. You have to physically remove all the chametz from your possession. Okay. So that's why we have both of those things. we have to search for chametz because we may come to eat it, we may not mean it when we say it's ownerless, and we have to declare it ownerless in case we find chametz on Pesach, and we may take a few minutes until we destroy it. Fine. Why do you have to sell the chametz? When does selling the chametz begin? The Gemara doesn't really talk about the mitzvah of selling the chametz or the minhag of selling the chametz. The Gemara just, the Sefta says, only says the following. It says there was a Jew on a boat. What does a Jew do on a boat? He's on a boat with a non-Jew. Does he have to throw all the chametz overboard? What could he do? The Gemara says he could give it to the non-Jew. Okay. So Balach Hasdela says you could give it, you could sell it, but don't make a trick. It has to be real. So Beis Yosef comments on this and he says, one second, if we're making an actual act of acquisition with a non-Jew, it should work. What does it mean if it has to be real? What's the issue here? Others, by the not the Alter Rebbe, but other opinions say the whole sale for chametz is just it doesn't really work so well, and you shouldn't really actually sell chametz. Other opinions say it is not our opinion is it's a real sale, and you could sell actual chametz, and no problem selling actual chametz. But other opinions are that the whole sale is like a weird thing. It's in your house, you're selling it. Could it really work? Is the guy really going to come to your house and take it? Like and they have it sounds a little funny, but that's why we do all these. When you sell the chametz, the best thing is to go to the rabbi, to take a kinyan, and to sign and to write all the places because we want this to actually be a real sale. But when was a sale established? So in the Beis Yosef, he says that there was a tzaddik named Trumas Hadesh. And Trumas Hadesh had the following issue. The issue was the Jews had chametz, large quantities of chametz, and they didn't want to get rid of them. So what just baltashos, destroy them. So he said, he writes the following plan. What you could do is you can sell them to the non-Jew. Non-Jew could buy your chametz, no problem. If the non-Jew takes it to his house, non-Jew takes it to his house, then there's no problem. It's a good sale, no issue. The issue became later on. The Bais Chodesh writes, Bais Chodesh in his time, the issue was Jews were owning plants of vodka, of alcohol, and what are they going to do? They can't sell all their vodka before Pesach. They want to continue having their vodka in the same place it was before. So how do they sell it to the non-Jew and yet keep it where it is? Physically, they're not moving the plant anywhere. They're not moving all of the cases and bottles of vodka anywhere. How are they going to suddenly not own the chametz on Pesach? We can't just say it's ownless. That's not enough. The Alter Rebbe says it's zero. It works. It doesn't count as anything. It's you violate the rabbinic prohibition of Bayirah Bayimatzeh. If you have chametz in your house and you declare ownerless, not enough. So what do? So the Bais Chodesh came up with a new halachic mechanism which would work, and that is that not only you're selling the chametz to the non-Jew, you also want the chametz to be in the place of the jurisdiction of the non-Jew. When you sell it on the ship, the goy has his own place in the ship. You just give it to him, and he takes it to his cabin, his place in the ship. But when you have a plant, Bais Chodesh says you rent the plant to the non-Jew, and then the non-Jew he has his chametz in his own house. But since he rented it, therefore not considered the house of the Jew. It's considered the house of the non-Jew, and therefore it's not in your jurisdiction. So now we understand we have all three things. We have to search for chametz so that if you find chametz on Pesach, search for chametz so that if you find you shouldn't come to eat the chametz. To search for chametz so that in case you declared it ownerless, you didn't mean it, you should search for make sure it's not there. Then for the chametz that you may find middle of Pesach, and you may take a few minutes. That's why you have to declare ownerless. And thirdly, if you have chametz and you want that this chametz should stay till after Pesach, for that you have to sell the chametz. However, the Rebbe says that we shouldn't just do this for Jews who are religious. We should help every Jew, even Jews who are not religious at all, and they're eating chametz on Pesach. We should also encourage them to at least not violate the prohibition of owning chametz. Every Jew should at least fill out this document to not own the chametz, even though it seems like a joke. They're eating chametz, but they're not. But nevertheless, the document does have validity. What the mechanism of it is a bigger discussion than for tonight. But that's all these supermarkets are owned by Jews, like all local supermarkets have some Jewish ownership in them. They all do this. Not all, but many of them do the document of selling the chametz. getting back to the question before about using the vacuum cleaner. So, what is chametz? Destroy chametz. What is chametz? Chametz that cannot be eaten by a dog. It's so putrid, it's so abominable, so disgusting that a dog won't eat it. That's not chametz. However, so if you have chametz, however, that is a little bit ruined and is less than a kazayas, the Alter Rebbe says you don't have to get rid of it. You don't have to get rid of it. It's not, if you have a old piece of chametz and it's less than a kazayas, it's more than about an ounce, the Alter Rebbe says you don't have to get rid of it. So let's say it this way: you have a bookshelves full of books that you've eaten lots of kugels over. You've had hundreds of kugels over all the books in your library. So the Chazon Ish, he has said you have to go open up every single book and make sure every single page, make sure there's no chametz in those pages. However, it says in Gemara, the Gemara says that the crumbs are not what aren't what you're looking for. What's the point of searching for chametz? What did we just say the purpose of searching for chametz is? It's in order you shouldn't come to eat the chametz. It's in order that you shouldn't, maybe you won't mean it when you say it's ownerless. Both of those reasons don't apply to crumbs. Crumbs, first of all, you never want to own them in the first place. They're automatically nullified. You don't have to say it in your heart and mean it because it's not something you want possession of. Anyways, number two, you're not going to eat it. No one's opening up their book and taking out a moldy piece of kugel and eating it. So for both those reasons, you don't have to open up all the books in your bookshelf and go through them and to make sure that there's nothing there because those both of the reasons that we said don't apply to the books in your bookshelf. In a similar way, you got to read it. So he has his reason. Well, he said he has a different opinion. But the opinion that we follow is that it's those crumbs are automatically null. Oh, okay. So very good. So forget the car seats we can't get. Before that, I want to say, what about the books? What about your sidurim? What about your benchers? That's different because those are items you bring to the table. There's two different things. One is the issue of owning the chametz. The other is the issue of eating the chametz. We don't want anything to come near the table that's chametz. So while there's no problem with you taking a book off the bookshelf and reading the book, but if you bring the book to the table, even though it's a tiny piece of chametz, people use the word hiddur. It's a hiddur to make sure the book doesn't have chametz in it. It's not a hiddur. We're being careful that even the tiniest bit of chametz, gets in the food, it's actually not kosher. So we're being careful not to bring any book that may have come in contact with chametz to the table because we don't want the tiniest bit of chametz to get in the food, and that's not kosher. And there's actually a special promise that Hashem gives us that if you're careful not to have the tiniest bit of chametz, you won't make any mistakes the whole year. You won't make any mistakes. So it says you won't commit any sins, but it means that you won't commit any sins by accident. You won't make any accidental mistakes. Now, if chametz you cannot reach between the floorboards, or chametz which is crumbs on the floor, that's not what you're looking for. You're not looking for tiny crumbs that are automatically nullified. You're not looking for the tiniest crumbs. What you're looking for is something that's substantial, something that's edible, something that's if a piece of a pretzel on the floor, that's edible. You have to get rid of. But there's an issue with things which are, let's say, there's a big refrigerator. And behind the refrigerator, there's a cabinet, and you have to dismantle the cabinet to get to the chametz. You don't have to dismantle the cabinet. You don't have to dismantle any cabinets in order to get to the chametz. Whatever you can't reach, you can't reach. So automatically nullified. The whole problem is, again, you might come to eat it. Since you're not going to come to eat it because we're not afraid of that. That's not an issue. As the Gemara gives an example, the chametz on the roof, you don't have to get rid of it. The chametz is in a situation where you can't reach it, not a problem. So with the car is like another area in your home. It's exactly the same. And if there's areas in the car which is impossible to reach, it's impossible to reach, and it's automatically nullified. You don't have to do any special acrobatics. But getting back to the vacuum and stuff. So it says in Shulchan Aruch that you're supposed to check your pockets. You're supposed to check your pockets, especially people who put the chametz in their pockets. The Alter Rebbe, even those who aren't putting chametz in their pockets, it's still better to check your pockets before Pesach. But by Farakash and others say, if you send your jacket to the cleaners and they put all these chemicals in the jacket, so even if there was chametz there, still the chametz is now, it's like we said before, if the chametz got a little bit ruined, even though it's not ruined to the point the dog wouldn't eat it, but it's not something, since if it's a tiny piece and it got a little bit ruined, that's already sufficient. That's already enough, and therefore you wouldn't have to. Whatever comes from the cleaners, you wouldn't have to check the pockets. But whatever wasn't washed, whatever wasn't cleaned that way, you would have to. But getting back to what you asked about the vacuum cleaner, if you bring it to the car wash and they put all the shampoo and whatever on the carpet, even if there's something there that's chametz, it's already ruined. You won't need it anymore. It got all these chemicals, all this shampoo, all this stuff in it. So even if there is a piece of pretzel there, it's not going to be an issue because it's you should get rid of the pretzel anyways. Fine, get rid of the pretzel anyways. Okay, I know you said. Anyways, but still, it's not really an issue. So that's why, for example, cabinets. How are you searching for the cabinet? Taking all the clothing out of the cabinet on the knife of the dikas chametz. You're going to take all the everything out of your cabinets. So when you clean for Pesach and you put some detergent, whatever, you put some cleaning agent to clean and you're rubbing it, that's already considered an act of destroying the chametz, because wherever chametz is there, it's getting ruined now with this cleaning agent. So in a way, that's already the best thing is if you could put it next to the light then that's already considered the cleaning, the searching for chametz even before the night before Pesach. But even without that, the fact that you're rubbing it with something that's makes it unedible, that already does something vis-a-vis the identity of this as edible chametz. I just want to mention one more point because I'm getting paged over here. When you sell chametz, you have to make sure that you're selling chametz in the same time zone you're going to be for Pesach.
So how are you going to do? You live here, you're going to New York. Where are you selling?
If you're going to New York, so New York is 3 hours ahead of here. So the rabbis here sell before. They sell earlier, right?
But here sell after.
The rabbis here sell after, right. Rabbis sell after. So it's a problem. You have to sell in New York. So,
but then you're getting the chametz 3 hours before that you're getting here.
No, it's not a problem. Even though they're after Pesach, they're going to buy it back. You don't have to accept ownership of any chametz. You don't want to accept ownership just because they're buying it back for you. You're not accepting acquisition of it until it's chametz is over for you.
So what's happened if it's an emergency, something happened, and the person had to return from New York back to his house here?
Yeah. So I'm saying that even if the rabbis buy it back for you in New York and you're back here, it's not an issue. Why not? Because you could decide when you want to accept the chametz back in your jurisdiction. They bought it back for you, but you're not accepting it. Not accepting ownership of it. You're accepting ownership only after Pesach is over. You don't have to, once they buy it back for you, it doesn't come back in your possession.
So why have to sell it in New York if I can sell it here?
Because if you sell it here and you're in New York, so it's 10 o'clock in the morning here, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon in New York, and you're already you can't sell the chametz anymore, because in order to sell the chametz, you have to own it. You don't own it anymore. How am I? I'm sitting over, I'm selling your chametz for you. You don't own the chametz. You say, Rabbi, sell my chametz. It's not your chametz. You can't have any benefit from it now. Since you can't have any benefit from it now, you can't sell it. Understand? If you sell it the day before, you could do that. In fact, some people have a custom that they sell always the day before. The Belzer Chassidim, they sell always the day before. Why? Because they're concerned about how you're selling it the day before Pesach. How you're selling it then, and you had a mitzvah of how does the sale work for the rooms that you're searching for chametz. You're searching for chametz. You're selling it. Which one is it? And that's, but Rabbi Wright Shekal Vashalom would always make a early sale for those people traveling out of town, and it works. Quick sale on the 13th. If you're going to Israel, Israel's ahead, right? So you have to sell in Israel, or on the 13th. We can sell on the 13th. If they make the rabbis, you also make another sale on the 13th. You could do that, or you could sell in Israel.
No, about the chametz. Usually they keep cleaning up the garbage by the.
Yeah.
So what's happened between?
So
Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, they don't clean up again the garbage. If you eat something in the tube, it belongs to you.
it's a little bit better this year.
Or it belongs to the city.
Okay, so these garbage cans are in your jurisdiction. They're your jurisdiction. So it's not the best situation to have chametz in the garbage cans because of your jurisdiction. What you could do is you could pour detergent into them, you could ruin them. But the best thing is Nat Isaacs. He has a service, and he picks up the garbage cans hopefully before the time of the vision. But so if you have no choice, now this year's a little bit easier because it's just the first day of the week. You only how much garbage you have.
The garbage is on the.
You put it outside your jurisdiction. You put it outside jurisdiction, but ultimately it's not the best situation. If you take it out of your the best thing is that it's you shouldn't have chametz garbage. That because it's edible. There's bread there. It's better. It's better than yeah.
One of the things that you said.
Yeah.
So why is it we're selling this and this? Because when you tell you that's the key.
Yeah.
The guy doesn't have to make it, doesn't have to. We're telling comments, he has to figure it out.
There is an act of they do a kinyan with the guy. They do an act of kinyan. The guy gives money. He gives him money. That's also an act of a kinyan. The guy for sure does it.
On a regular sale, on an everyday sale, when we sell something like that.
Yeah.
When he pays for it, sell.
Right.
Not when he takes it, right? But by June when he takes it.
Oh, right. So to the Dvar most kindness of Tincham Mashiach. Right? Yeah.
We're selling for comments, we're asking for the guy to sell the.
Why are you asking him to also make a kinyan?
To remove, not just to sell, it's not enough. When we're selling the game.
Oh.
Thing, it's okay, you pay for it and it's already yours, but in June he has to pay for it and you have to pay the item as well. Has to physically.
You're asking why isn't it sufficient that the guy does an active acquisition? Why does he have to take it out of the Jew's possession?
When we're selling a regular
Okay.
throughout the year, it's fine.
The problem is because of the fact that you have it in your property. The issues that we mentioned before that you might end up eating it, and it's still in your possession. You're not allowed to even accept a non-Jew can give you something to guard for him on Pesach. It's his. And you're taking responsibility for it on Pesach, it's an issue. You can't guard a non-Jewish chametz either. So there's an issue of with chametz, and it's not like a regular kind of things where you own it or you don't own it. Even accepting responsibility for it is also an issue. But I want to mention something else. You remind me of if you go to a hotel on Pesach, middle of Pesach, and you want to rent a room. So what do? You have to search for chametz. So the issue of owning chametz isn't you don't have an issue of owning chametz because you don't want to own any chametz in this room. You don't accept ownership of. But there's still an issue if there's chametz left in the room. There's an issue you come to eat it. You can't nullify it. But you could possibly forget and come to eat it. And therefore, if you come to a hotel, you have to search for chametz with a candle, without a brach. Destroy anything you find, and
what do they charge you for? What do they need? How much you take? They charge you for it. So you have information not to take it. You took 4 peanuts. You charge you for 4 peanuts. They see what you take from the room. Don't you have reminders? That's how they work.
They'll charge you, and therefore,
it's what you don't want to take. It's not yours yet because only when you take.
Only take it as yours. So you're asking, do you have to actually get it out of the room because it's not yours yet? The thing is, though, it's the fact that it's in the room. It's a temptation, and you might forget. So it's not okay to leave it in the room for sure not, because even though you're right, it's they only charge you if you once you take it. But the issue of having the chametz around is a problem. Let me say, you mind this is exactly what I said before. If you mark off your closet sold for Pesach, okay, you don't have to search that closet for Pesach. But if you have actual chametz, it's not sufficient that you mark off that it's sold for Pesach. You can't say this area is sold for Pesach. You have to actually have a mechitza asar tvachim. There actually has to be some kind of wall that separates you from the chametz. If it's you want to search a certain part of your house, fine. But that area that actually has chametz has to have a mechitza, has to actually have a wall. If it's just because you want to include this in the sale, this should also be rented to non-Jew and doesn't have actual chametz there, fine. But if you're an actual chametz in your house, there has to be some kind of thing that's going to remind you not to come to eat it. And that's what the purpose of the mechitza is. This is not yours. The sign isn't enough. There has to be mechitza asar tvachim to separate between you and the chametz. All right. Hazaka Baruch. This shir today was inspired by Mr. Baruch over here, Baruch Hashem, and you have the schus, you have the absolute schus. Thank you.